Karen Peterson is with us. Karen, on Thursday, this was quite the show that Stardom put out. I will state that I've seen most of the show at this point. They drew almost 3,900 fans. It was a very strong crowd for Stardom. And I just want to start like the top line match that everyone is discussing is Giulia becoming the new World of Stardom champion, defeating Giulia, and a match that everybody is... Sorry. I'm Giulia defeating Shuri to become the World of Stardom champion. And this is a match, Karen, that everybody is raving about.
If there wasn't a last minute skate in match of the year contender, it's this one. It was, and what I loved about it was that when Giulia first joined Stardom in late 2019, she was dog-eared as someone that they were going to strap the rocket to. She started off really, really hot with her rivalry with Hana Kimura. And then it just seemed like everything was coming up Giulia. And then, last year she had to drop out of the 5-star because she had injured her neck. And then for the last 3 or 4 months of the year, she was, she was at ringside. She was seconding. She was being the scary masked assailant, beating up on Cosmic Angels. And during that time, it gave her enough breathing time to make this journey to the red belt for her feel more authentic. Had she, went from the white belt immediately to the red belt and completely cut Shuri out of that equation, I don't think it would have meant as much. And, with Shuri finally closing her loop last year, at this time last year at Dream Queendom to get the red belt, her leaving Donna Del Mondo when Giulia was the one who brought her in, it perfectly bookended their journey together in Stardom. And then now it's finally Shuri's tweet about their match afterwards is literally it's time for Giulia to take over. I'm entrusting her with the red belt. I'm entrusting her with Stardom. And, it was literally down to the last 9 seconds of a 30-minute match.
Yes.
And they threw everything that they could throw at each other. They were throwing finishers of each other's. They were throwing finishers of other members of Donna Del Mondo. I think one of Himeka's finishers ended up in there. One of Micah's finishers ended up there. So it was this whole storm of neither one wanting to back down, neither one wanting to, close. They wanted to make sure that if this was the last match of 2022 for Stardom, that it was going to be one that was going to turn a lot of heads, and that's exactly what they did. So if you haven't seen it and you're waiting for it to get in Stardom World, if you don't want to watch the whole show, that's fine. There are some matches in that I didn't particularly think were normal, or not normal in the sense that I expected a little bit more out of them. But if anything, skip to the end, watch this match first, because you'll understand all of the hype that's going around with it.
Yeah, in a year that has had some unbelievable match quality, this ranks very, very high for me. I was just in awe of this match. It's the highest of recommendations. As you look back, number one, did you foresee Shuri having the year-long run that she would have? And how would you assess her reign as champion this year, where Stardom made a lot of inroads, a lot of increase in their business? How will you view this year with Shuri on top?
Very much like how, Utami had the belt for just over a year. Shuri's journey, it needed to be a year long because, one, she worked very, very hard to get to that point. But at the same time, consistently the matches her title defense rode this past year, everyone's always been talking about her matches. There isn't a particular opponent that no one didn't talk about. Anytime she had a title defense, people were talking about it. She and Utami revisited their rivalry from 2021. Giulia actually challenged for the belt back in March. And it was one of those things where, because Giulia and Shuri's journeys in Stardom are so tightly intertwined, it was the perfect way for Giulia to get the belt and have it be believable. Because, she had to drop out of the 5-star, and people were like, well, is she done in 2021? When, I think she's definitely under 30 years old. So she's very, very young still. And it's one of those things where one of the things that Stardom is really, really good about is making their singles championships, especially the World and the Wonder Championship, mean something. So they've gone for longer title reigns, whether it's a half a year with 6 or 7 defenses or a full year. It's basically, they don't hot potato these titles. You have to work your way to them, and then you have to work your way to keep them. And it's one of those things where Shuri had a banner year. if someone is curious as to why she's been showered upon all the accolades that she's won in the last year, I'd say chase up a match of hers and just watch what's going on. If you can find, a good review, or, especially if you're, listen to Post Wrestling, there are extensive reviews of Stardom that are out there that have been documenting her journey, as well as the journey of many other wrestlers within the company. And it's one of those things where Giulia did a lot when she first got in there. She won the Cinderella tournament. She won the Wonder of Stardom Championship. She lost all her hair by doing that hair versus hair match against Tam. And it's one of those things, like, I don't think they wanted to make sure that, Giulia became a Grand Slam champion very quickly, because then what else is she going to do? So it's one of those things where this pacing, they found the right opponent. They found the right story to tell. Giulia had to have a small fall from grace by, having prominence come in, and, Shuri leaving and taking, Mirai with her. And it's been one of those things where it's honestly one of the best stories, and I'm glad they took the time with it.
Yeah, and Wei had the images up there, but the entrances alone were just phenomenal from both of them just coming out. It had that huge match feel to it, and the match delivered and then some. I want to touch on some of the other matches. One other title change was Nanae Takahashi and Yu becoming the Goddess of Stardom Tag Champions, defeating Tam Nakano and Natsupoi. And I would say, I really enjoyed this match, and the final couple of minutes were just terrific. I thought that they peaked this match tremendously well, and was just a really, really well-built tag match that the final 5 minutes to me just were outstanding in this one.
My only frustration with this match is that it was like there was no ultimate, there's no other outcome to it other than Natsupoi being the one to lose it all. Mm-hmm. Only because Yu has multiple championships in other companies. They've brought Nanae back as, similar to Kyrie, where she's like working all these big marquee events, or working with younger talent and really putting them over. And then, next week on Wednesday, Tam has her challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship. So it was one of those things where they're going to have Tam bring the title into Wrestle Kingdom, and then that she's not going to become a double champion, or was it they're going to take the belts off of them with the Triangle Derby coming up, and makes it more believable that they could eat more losses in the tournament. So I think I was just so burnt out from all the wrestling that I had been watching that I may need to rewatch this match, because people are rating it a lot higher than I did. And I'm like, did I miss something in this match? I don't know what it was, but I think it very much, it tells a David and Goliath story, because, you and Nanae Takahashi are very strong, tall, big women, and they just ragdoll, Natsupoi and Tam after, winning the whole Goddess Tag League earlier in November.
Yes, and of course, Tam Nakano is coming back. She's got the match with Kyrie next Wednesday at Wrestle Kingdom, and Kyrie was on this card with Utami. They ended up going the time limit draw, which this was kind of an interesting match, Karen, going in, of how they would go about this. It's just a layup that Kyrie wins this match going into Wednesday. And when you saw the match in execution, the time limit kind of did make a lot of sense. I enjoyed the match. It was maybe a little flat with the time limit ending, but it was still fine for the time it was. But how do you feel about Kyrie going into this match next Wednesday, and the shadow that has overtopped this match?
You know how I felt about the whole let's reveal possibly a big opponent for Kyrie at Wrestle Kingdom a month before her actual first defense at Wrestle Kingdom situation. But when Utami originally challenged Kyrie right in the backstage area at Historic Crossover, there was an energy. And at the time, I didn't understand the full story behind it all. And it was that as Kyrie was leaving for WWE in 2017, Utami was getting ready to debut. So it was one of those things where it was like a changing of the guard. So, the whole story with Kyrie and the IWGP Women's Championship was that, she left for 5 years, and then she and Mayu came back, and the whole thing was, well, you left us, you went to do what you needed to do for yourself, but some of us stayed here. And Utami was one of those. When she met Utami, she had like that inkling that there's something very, very special about this girl. And sure enough, she was right that, Utami soared to the, in Kyrie's absence, she quickly became one of the pillars of the new generation of Stardom. She was a very decorated champion. Very like when she first was in her super rookie year, she had like 4 belts at one time. She had the World of Stardom Championship. Her and Shuri, they had their 5-star, the very rare 5-star rating match. And it was one of those things where I really liked the fact that Utami refused to jump the queue and challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship, because it gives us the opportunity for a longer story with the two of them. Utami being one of the ones that was, selected to be in the inaugural tournament. She lost to Mayu. She had the chance to be at, in the main event historic crossover. It didn't happen, but she wasn't going to give it up. And it's one of those things where she also knew the importance of Tam having that, being the one to challenge her at Wrestle Kingdom for the inaugural defense, that she also didn't want to jump the queue on that. So I think 2023 is a year that we're definitely going to need to keep our Shuri, also Shuri, but Utami in that short list of names that you're probably going to see challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship. I liked the stipulation they put out was that the loser has to go back to their debut look, meaning debut haircut, no music, no entrance theme. As the leader of Queen's Quest, Utami would have had to have given up being leader of Queen's Quest as, the IWGP Women's Champion. Kyrie would have had to vacate the belt before her first defense. There was so many stakes it made the match interesting, but yeah, the 15-minute time limit, it just left you wanting more.
Yeah, that seemed to be what it like. This was not some grand conclusion, and it seems like this is certainly something they can revisit in the new year. Just any final thoughts on the show, Karen? And as well, they set up quite a lot with some of the post-match challenges. They announced, the major show for April 23rd as well. So it wasn't just that this built up. This also laid the groundwork for quite a lot of programs going into the new year.
One of the things that Stardom is really good about is announcing big shows a little further out compared to New Japan. And it's one of those things where it's just for example, the show that's going to be on, I believe it's in around the April 23rd.
Yep.
Yokohama Arena, it's a big venue. And it's going to be, I believe, the 30th anniversary of the original Dream Slam. So what is involved in all of that, I don't know. I'm only just picking up bits and pieces here, but Stardom hasn't said anything official yet. But I, as much as I would love to be there in April, I don't think it's going to happen unless, a magical, mysterious benefactor comes through at the last minute. But it seems that Stardom is constantly trying to not only expand and become bigger and, a viable contender, not just in the Japanese market, but in the international market. But it also seems that they're opening more opportunities to work with other women's promotions, both domestically and hopefully more so internationally, with the incoming of Zaya Brookside and Mariah May from the UK, with Mina Shirakawa finally coming back from her injury with her jaw after the match with Saya Kamitani at Hiroshima Goddess Festival. There is a possibility that there will be a fractioning of Cosmic Angels come 2023. I know all the Cosmic Angels fans don't want to hear that, but it could spell very big things for Mina Shirakawa, which is a very smart move because she's very marketable and very personable, but also it's the Stardom's realizing that they're building up stars that aren't just their normal 6 faction leaders, or, in the case of Oedo Tai, Starlight Kid, that they're starting to entrust the newer hires in the company to do things as well.
Well, we are going to let Karen get some sleep now because she has her report up now that you can go check. A phenomenal rundown of the entire card from Thursday up at postwrestling.com. But that's not all. Karen will be back this weekend covering the Noah show as they kick off their year with Shinsuke Nakamura against the Great Muta. And then next week, we'll be covering Wrestle Kingdom on the site. So, Karen, it's going to be a very, very busy week. And we are glad that you will be on the scene covering many of these major cards over the next week and into the new year.
I will do my best to make you guys proud.
Well, thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us tonight. We appreciate it very much.
No problem at all. Happy New Year, everyone.